I just finished my morning routine and I knew that I was going to make the video. Not when I woke up this morning, but, I guess I should backtrack. When I woke up, I stayed in bed for like a couple hours contemplating whether or not I should go into work because I have a shoot today. And usually when I have a shoot, I will do like a half day at work, but I've been feeling really uninspired and really stressed, and honestly, like, things in life are just very tumultuous at the moment, and I don't have stability, and so like stress from work is like really the last thing that I need. And then work's been very stressful recently, so I decided that today I'm gonna take the whole day off, maybe. I'm gonna try to hold myself to that. But I'm trying to take better care of myself because I realized recently that I should really commit to being happy and do everything in my power to improve my contentment with my life. And that means taking meds if I need to take meds. And it means really looking inward and trying to find the answers on what's actually gonna make me happy, because no one can tell me what's gonna make me happy, only I can make those decisions. And I've had a couple realizations, or I've started doing a couple things that have helped me to improve my overall contentment, joy, happiness with life. And I wanted to share some of those things since I'm having, a self-care day right now, in essence. One thing that's super important to me in every aspect of my life is intention. And what I mean by that is being intentional with the things that I do, the things that I say, and being thoughtful about things. I realized that I didn't apply that to everything in my life. Like, I didn't necessarily apply it to dating. I didn't apply it to sex. I didn't apply it to work. I didn't apply it to who I spent my time with. And I have started making the conscious decision to do that. So I'm very protective of my time and energy now. So like if, I hang out with someone and I find that I'm drained afterwards, I'm not gonna cut them off because it's not their fault that we're not compatible, but I'm also gonna have to respect that I need to protect my energy, and I'll maybe limit the time that I spend with that person. And that kind of goes into the next thing. I really try to take inventory of my life very often. And what that means for me, in the context of relationships, I do quarterly check-ins, and we kind of like review each other, and like sometimes there's small things that your partner will do that kind of like frustrate you in the moment or make you upset in the moment, and you don't really know why, and sometimes it's not really like worth having an argument about or bringing up to them, or it kind of feels like weird to bring it up to them, especially if you realize what the problem is like maybe a week or so after the incident. It's like, oh, why are you bringing up like old shit, especially if you're not upset about it anymore. But I find that like having a check-in where we're kind of like reviewing the state of the relationship and whether or not we're both content with how things are going, and also setting intentions for where we're headed in the future. And I've found that that's been really helpful. And with myself, I also do a quarterly check-in, kind of like review my mental health, like how I've been feeling, how I spend my free time, if I'm content with how I'm spending my free time, how I feel at work, if I'm content with how I feel at work. And I do the same thing with my friendships. Like, I don't do it with my friends just because it's not really necessary. I tend to be very selective with who I'm friends with, so I very rarely get into arguments with my friends, or very rarely need to bring up something that comes up in their quarterly review, I guess. But I found that it's really helped me to like gain clarity on whether or not I'm doing anything or participating in anything willingly or unwillingly that is bringing sadness or depression into my life, or that's triggering me. And I don't necessarily think that it needs to be quarterly. If you think that you need it weekly, you could do it weekly. Weekly for me is a little bit hard to keep up with, but quarterly, it's like, if I need it earlier, obviously I'll do it earlier, but quarterly seems good because usually there's like enough for me to work on in between check-ins to actually see progress. And then also it gives me enough time to really sit with things that have happened and kind of go from there. And one thing that I do kind of like alongside with the quarterly check-in, I do this thing by the recommendation of Ali Abdal to create like an ideal ordinary week. So you block out, hour by hour, how you're spending your time in your dream life, but you have to also be realistic. So like in my ideal ordinary week, I'm working also for like a huge chunk of the day because that's realistic for me. But when I started doing that, it made it really easy for me to see that happiness is really, 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 really attainable. And it also helped me to like pinpoint what's making it so that I'm not spending my free time how I want to spend my free time, or like what needs to change so that I can live this life. And that's been really, really, really helpful for me. And hopefully I can remember, but if not, I guess remind me. But I'll try to link the video where he talks about it in the description. Ideal Ordinary Week has been something that I've been doing for the last year, and I think that it's really helped me to make a decision on what exactly I want to achieve and what's important to me in the season of my life. And it's not like, a long-term goal. It's something that I could very realistically achieve in a year or achieve in like a couple months if I, move things around. I think it's made it easier for me to see what I need to do next, like what are my action items for the next couple months, what are my goals for the next couple months, and identify like small things that I could do to make myself happier. That's also helped me commit to making time for things that I know I enjoy and I know will improve my overall quality of life. So, for example, YouTube is something that I've loved doing since I was a kid, like regardless of the views, regardless of like the outcome of the video, it's a process that I really enjoy. And especially because it's like not a thing that I'm looking to make a career out of, I almost deprioritize it in my life. And I do that with like, a lot of the creative things that I like doing as well. And I realize like I'm the happiest when I am doing those things. Like I'm good at science and science is secure, so I do science. But I like the creative things. I like making things, but also it's not always super realistic to be able to, do something that you enjoy every single week. So another thing that I do is I indulge in Delulu, and I have tricked myself that I love Excel. So anytime I get to work in Excel, I do get like a little dopamine bump because I just like, it's a tiffism, I guess. I don't know if other people do that too, where they like convince themselves that they like something just to be able to get over the threshold of having to do that thing. But I do find that that improves my overall happiness throughout the day. I read this book called Solve for Happy by Mo Gaudat last year. And I'm actually gonna reread it in a little bit. I have like a long list of books that I wanna reread because I need advice from people I look up to. So yeah, I'm rereading a lot of books. But in the book, Mo says that the main reason that we're unhappy most of the time is because our expectations weren't realistic. And so I don't know, actually I do know why that was so altering for me. It's because it's true. Like for example, when my great-grandfather passed away, I was really, really, really sad. And this was after I had read Solve for Happy. And I asked myself, well, what did you expect? And I expected that he would live forever and that he was this immortal being. I think I said this in a previous video too. When he passed away, it felt like, God fell to the ground, and turned out God was human. And I realized that that wasn't a realistic expectation. And it didn't change the fact that I was sad, but it did help to change my perspective on the entire situation. Instead of thinking, like, why did he have to die? I thought I was really, really lucky to know him. And I wish that I had this insight when my dad passed away too, because it would have been really helpful, because a lot of people don't get to know their father, and it's a privilege. And even if there's things that I wish were different, it's still a blessing and still a privilege to get to know someone, get to love someone, and inevitably lose someone, because nothing is forever. And it's just the way that things are. You don't love without loss. Like, either you lose them, at the same time you lose your life, or you lose them when they lose their life, or something happens and you naturally have to split ways because of a myriad of different things. And it's a part of the beauty of loving someone, because it's so rare, you never know when it's gonna end. And it's like motivation to cherish it. At least like that's kind of how I'm thinking about it now. Like not attaching myself too much to the idea of how long something beautiful might last. Just trying to enjoy it while I have it. And I don't know, it's helped. And after I ask whether or not my expectations are realistic, I'll often follow it up with, what's the evidence for that? And that also helps to like kind of make sure I'm not, being delusional. And sometimes you're just unhappy. And in that case, I ask myself why. And then I just keep asking myself why to get to like the root cause of why I'm unhappy. Or I'll ask myself like, oh, when was another time that I felt this way? And what happened before that? And kind of trying to identify the patterns in when I feel an emotion in an attempt to understand why I'm feeling the emotion. And that's been very, very, very helpful for me. Just so that I'm not ruminating on the emotion itself, I can turn it into something productive and make it an opportunity for growth and really try to become a little bit better. Like, obviously I'm human, so like I'm gonna make mistakes, I'm gonna hurt people, but like, at least this is why I tell myself, it's okay as long as you learn from it and you make a genuine effort to try to be better and to not let it happen again. Like for example, when I'm feeling jealous, I'll stop and ask myself why. And a lot of the times it's because it's something that I think I want for myself. That's really what jealousy is. It's like a way for you to help identify something that you want for yourself. And I'll be like, why? And then usually, a lot of the times it's like, I don't actually want that thing. It like seems nice, but it's really not for me. And then, the emotion of jealousy kind of turns into like, oh, I'm happy for them. Like that's cool that they get to have that. And you can, keep going up until you're content. So like let's say I have a friend that is doing really, really well in their professional life and is really passionate about their work, and I feel jealous of that. I'm like, well, why? I'm like, oh, well, I want a good job that like is cushy too. And then I'll follow up again with why. And it's like, oh, because I don't want to work. And it's like, no, actually, that's not true. It's not true that I don't want to work. Like, I'm a busybody. I like being motivated to do things. So, like, what is it really? And, after, like, a couple of rounds of this, I'll come to the conclusion that I want a career where I feel content with the work that I'm doing, I feel motivated, and it doesn't feel like pulling teeth to work my 8 hours. And really think that this mindset has kind of like helped to extend therapy a little bit for me. And it's almost like I'm therapizing myself a little bit. But that's all I have, and my camera's about to die. So I'm gonna call it here and get ready for my shoot. Thank you so much for stopping by. I appreciate you. Bye.